You are listening to I Survived the Wild Outdoors podcast, where real outdoors men and women share their heroic tales of survival. I'm your host, Brad Mathewson, and this is their story. Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to share another one of my personal stories. This story goes back to 1999. It was the weekend before the 4th of July, and I decided to take my dog that I had at the time. It was very small, probably weighed about, between 5 and 10 pounds. It was a cross between a miniature pinscher and a Boston Terrier. It was black with a little white chest and real short hair and had little bat ears. It was a really cute dog. His name was Sammy. And to say I was a poor swimmer would be an understatement. I'm a very poor swimmer. So, like most kids in America, I started swim lessons when I was probably, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit later in life when I started. Maybe I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I remember taking swimming lessons. I was very scared to put my head underwater. I didn't want to get water in my ears. It really bothered me. I had a lot of ear problems when I was younger. So I remember taking a class, and I think my brother and sister would move on to the next class, and I would have to repeat that class again. And that kind of happened over and over, and eventually they just, had enough of you, basically, and they passed you on to the next class. I did that until I was probably about 10 years old, and I still was not a proficient swimmer at all. I think the doggy paddle was about about the best I had, and I really wasn't going to paddle very far. And like I said, I still had problems with not wanting water to get into my ears. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of ear infections, and I had to go and see a specialist and have some, different things as far as my hearing taken care of. So as I got older, I still wasn't a very good swimmer, but I tried to play it safe. I should have wore a life jacket. So that's the biggest thing that you're gonna take away from this story today. So let's just jump into it. So I decided I was a big bass fisherman at the time, and I had never taken my dog fishing with me. I always saw other people fishing with their dog in their boat, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll bring my dog bass fishing with me. So we go to a local lake, and it's a good sized lake. It's a 1,100 acre lake. And we get there real early. I'm probably out there about, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I start bass fishing. And the day is going pretty good. And when I bass fish back in the day, I'd be out pretty much the whole day. I'd pack a lunch and plenty of liquids with me. And I brought a little dog bowl with a little bit of food and plenty of water for my dog. And as it got early afternoon, there wasn't many people on the lake. Normally on the weekend, there's a lot of people, but for whatever reason, maybe it was because the weekend before 4th of July, maybe people were, kind of waiting to get there that weekend, the following weekend. So anyways, I'm fishing along, and my dog comes up to the front of the boat and stands right on the very edge, right next to the trolling motor. And he kind of stopped, and I'm like, Sammy. He turns his head and he looks at me. And I knew what he was planning. And I'm like, don't do it. He kind of looks at me again, and it's almost like he grinned. And he leaped off the front of the boat. Now, I myself was a new dog owner. I had had this dog for a few months. And I had a dog when I was like 1 or 2 years old, but nothing past that. So at the time, I'm probably about 19 years old. And I'm freaking out. because the dog jumped in the water and he's so tiny. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? So like a like a parent would do with a toddler who jumps in the water, what are you going to do? I didn't think at all. I just jumped in. I leap off the front of the boat. I jump in. I yell for my dog. He doggy paddles to me. Kind of funny thing because I'm doggy paddling and he's doggy paddling. And so he finally comes over to me. I grab him and I'm thinking, man, that was stupid. I think all dogs can swim anyway. So I turn around and my boat's gone. My boat's drifted away. So at the time, it's not too bad. It's maybe about 20 yards from me. So I look back and I'm like, well, I could either try to swim to shore, which was a ways, or I could swim to the boat. Well, I should have swam to shore, but I did not. So I started swimming. And as I'm swimming, my little doggy paddle, I let go of my dog. He's paddling next to me. And I look around and there's no one on the lake at this time. And it's probably, I don't know, about mid-afternoon. And I'm paddling. And there's just a little bit of breeze. But it's enough that it just keeps the boat away from me. No matter how hard I paddle, it seems about the same distance. I look back and I'm like, oh my word, there's no way I could turn around and go try to even make sure. It would be impossible. So I'm going at this for about, it felt like an hour. It probably was about, maybe 15 minutes. And by this time, I'm pooped. And the dog, he seems okay. He's still chugging along right next to me. And pretty soon I stop, and I'm like, I'm sucking wind. I'm like, I can't go any further. I have no life jacket on, and I'm like, I'm gonna freaking drown. So I start yelling, screaming. There's no one around, nobody. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna have to. So I remember, kind of this overhand stroke that, you see when in the Olympics when they're, professional people or people that know how to swim. And so I start doing that and I'm kicking my feet as hard as I could and I'm gaining a little bit of ground. So eventually I do this for about another 5 minutes. I'm about 20 minutes into it. And I'm telling you, when I hit the boat with my hands, there was tears in my eyes. That boat could have been another foot away. I would have drowned. I had nothing, absolutely nothing left in my body. I was hyperventilating, in sheer panic mode because I'm like, I'm going to freaking drown out here. Excuse my language. But I'm going to drown out here. And when I got to the boat, my heart's just going 100 miles an hour. All the emotions are washing over me. I can't get in the boat. Everything I can do to lift this little 5-pound dog, and I'm in good shape. I'm only 19 years old. Lift the dog into the boat, and I hang on the side of the boat for another probably a good 20 minutes to half an hour. I'm just hanging on the side of the boat. I could not get my leg up. I couldn't. I used up every ounce of energy that was in my body. Finally, I got to the very back of the boat where it was a little bit lower on the transom. I grabbed a hold of the motor. I stepped up on one of the fins that's just above the prop and kind of straddled that and kind of used it as a ladder basically to climb into the boat. And I remember getting on the front of the boat again and just laying there on the front deck. And I laid there for, probably another half of an hour. Just trying to process what happened. And, it seemed like my life had flashed before my eyes. And I remember getting back to the dock that day. And we didn't have the smartphones we knew nowadays. We had the basic flip phones. So I remember texting a few of my friends. And later that night, we met up at a local pub. And I was telling my friends some of the story that had happened that day. Of course, they all thought I was pretty dumb jumping in for a dog, trying to save a dog, when dogs can swim anyways. But the group of friends were all fishermen. And they all expressed the same type of fear of drowning that I had, but none of them wore life jackets. I mean, how stupid. So an average of 84% of boating-related drownings, the people were not wearing life jackets. The United States experiences an average of 4,000 fatal drownings and 8,000 non-fatal drownings each year, resulting in 11 deaths per day and 22 non-fatal drownings per day. Drowning is the leading cause of unintentional death for children ages 1 to 4, and the third leading cause of children and adolescents from 5 to 19. Drowning is the fifth leading cause of unintentional injury deaths for all ages in the United States. Participation in formal swimming lessons can reduce the likelihood of drownings by 88%. That's amazing. That tells you right there that people should make sure you're getting your kid started in swimming lessons, or even if you're an older adult. And you're never too young or never too old to learn how to swim. Most places suggest that children should start at the age of 1 and continue swimming lessons until they're age 12 or until they've mastered all the basic skills. Like I said before, life jackets are also a must and should be worn by all adults and children while on any boat or vessel. I see a lot of people nowadays on paddle boards and on kayaks, the ones you either sit in or sit on top of, and they're not wearing life jackets at all. Just because it doesn't have a motor doesn't mean you shouldn't wear a life jacket. They've done studies that most people drowned actually on bluebird skies, sunny days. Everybody thinks it's, got to be stormy conditions and nasty out for people to drown. But no, most people are on the water when it's beautiful out, and that's when people drowned. So life jackets themselves, they come in a wide variety of styles. They got the old-fashioned Gilligan's Island one, where it's basically a little tube that goes around your neck, and on either side of you, it's almost kind of like a real bulky vest. Or like I said, they got the inflatable ones, and that's ones I wear. And like I said, within seconds, I've actually used mine, and that's another thing. If you have a life jacket, try it out. Jump in the water. I've done that mine many times. Jump in the water. It's only cost you a CO2 cartridge. Make sure it inflates. Make sure that it's working properly. My life jacket is so comfortable that even after 12 hours on the water, I don't even notice it. Anytime anyone fishes with me or just goes boating with me, they're required to wear one. If Michael Phelps was in the boat with me, he'd be required to wear a life jacket. Things happen. You could be driving along in the boat, hit something in the water that you didn't see, a stump, a rock, a log. It's happened before. There's been a lot of boating accidents that way. Boat flips over. Person hits their head on the side of the boat or on the bottom. If you're not wearing a life jacket, you're probably just going to go face down in the water and end up drowning, knocked out unconscious. It could save so many lives by just snapping on a simple life jacket. So I want everyone out there to take this very seriously and wear your life jacket. If you have children, make sure they have swimming lessons. If you're an adult and you can't swim, there are plenty of local pools that have swimming lessons for adults, private lessons even. You know, you shouldn't be embarrassed by not knowing how to swim. I'd rather be alive, at least with my doggy paddle, than not know how to swim at all. You know, I find myself very fortunate that at least I had some swimming lessons to fall back on that day. Even if it was simple doggy paddle, at least I knew something. So I want everyone to stay safe out there and enjoy all that Mother Nature has to offer. If you like what you heard today, click the subscribe button to hear more upcoming stories. If you or someone you know have a survival story you'd like to share, contact me at isurvivethewildoutdoors@gmail.com.